How about now? How about now? Do you hear? It's just one of those things. Okay, how about now? However, all right, that's a good start. I don't know why things change the way they do. I literally don't. But first and foremost, hi, and it was an audio setting, and I know that surprises you. So I don't know why machinery decides to do what it does. So what happened was, obviously, if you ain't hearing me, then there's a setting that got bumped somewhere, and I don't know why. So strange. But anyway, you go in and you think that things are set to your defaults, and apparently they're not. So you hit a button and things change, and now you can finally hear me. I don't know if that's for the public good or not. So, all right. So, John, here you there. Thanks for dropping by. I had to fix my hair because wearing a headset, you saw how stupid it got. So I had to fix that. That was where we are. But hour number one's kind of busy. Just from a news and information point, well, more like reports. It's not really news per se. There's a lot of news. We'll hear from Ronny Deila in hour number one. Ronny Deila caught up with the local media yesterday, and Jason and Maddie caught up with him. So what we'll do is you'll hear that conversation. You'll hear a little bit of that conversation. You can also go back and listen to, for those of you that missed it, a very special Atlanta Soccer Tonight with the Blossom, and so those kinds of things. Very, very special episode of AST last night where they had the full conversation with Jason and Maddie. We'll get you one of the sound bites of that particular exchange. You'll hear that in hour number one. There are other reports involving Atlanta United. They're reports, and they're coming from singular sources. So I will let you know what that is if you haven't had the chance to see it. But like I said, it is a report from a site, and it is, just the basic things. It's not something, like what we're seeing with Dante Van Zier this morning, where he's linked to a transfer out of Red Bulls to Ghent. It's nothing like that. It is a report from a site in South America, Central and South America, involving possible reports. And that's where we are here in January. It's all about the possible reports of individuals. And so I will let you know about that because something happened on an MLS site, and I went chasing down a rabbit hole for a piece of information. And so it ended up being a piece of information from another site in Central America involving Atlanta United. So we'll get you to hear from Ronny Deila, the updates on things involving a signing yesterday. Now we know what the social media team was getting at with the great anime that we saw. And so we'll get into that signing, and we'll talk about Kemen Togashi. So Togashi-san is now a part of Atlanta United on a free. We'll get into that, go over his numbers and all of his bio coming up in a bit. So that plus a lot of the news in hour number one. Hour number two has to do with the power hour, and obviously it's Nino and Niko. With Nino, like I said, I always leave it up there to to Nino as to what we want to talk about. But with one of the names being tied in a singular report to Atlanta United, I'm going to ask about this individual to Nino when he comes in at 10 o'clock. So Nino will take the tour at 10 o'clock, and we'll go fully loaded for a half hour. Then Niko Moreno joins us at 10:30 because of what happened yesterday with Seattle. Official Jesus Ferreira plus, and he's heading to Seattle. All of the stuff that is heading back to Dallas. Craig Weibel had a press gathering, a virtual press gathering. João Paulo resigns. Jordan Morris has the contract kicked back in, so we'll get into all the Seattle stuff and get into what's going on the Western Frontier with Niko Moreno, our friend from Pulso Sports and the Soccer Bar, in the last half hour of the show today. So that's the rundown. Whatever whatever information comes across our bow, there's news in USL Championship. There's signings going on in Major League Soccer. And we have a futures rosters announcement. We've got contract extensions in Houston and all the stuff overseas as well. So there's plenty to get into this morning. So I'm going to kind of sort of eschew opening kickoff a little bit, but I will answer one question. Rich wanting to know if the set got changed, just the background. We changed our studio provider to Restream. And so Jason went in, and now that we are restreaming as opposed to StreamYarding, what Jason did is he went in and got a bunch of different backgrounds and created a bunch of different backgrounds and things. And so that's what it was. The background of the broadcast has changed. So we changed our studio distribution platform. We didn't change any of our studio space. So if that makes sense. Am I reversed again? Am I reversed again? Hang on. No, I don't think I am. Yeah, because I'm reading. So if I'm Oh no, wait, I am. Yeah, hang on. I am. Hang on, just a second. Hang on. I'm not going to disable the camera. It's like I'm looking at things. So how did I do it last time? So now I have to remember. How did I? Extra presentations. What did I do? Does anybody remember what button I hit last time to flip settings? Was it settings? Video mirror. So it's mirror camera. There we go. How about that? There it is. Yeah, it's a mirror. Thank you. Yeah, so it was a mirror function. There we go. See, now I can read me. I can read my logos and things. So there we go. Okay. So yeah, I didn't change. No, it was just once again. So I guess when I logged in this morning, for whatever reason, things changed and flipped and hit and turned off. So I had to turn something back on, had to change my microphone input, and then I had to hit the mirror thing on the camera. So, yeah, I'm not going to hit the button to sit there and go mirror back and forth to kind of show you. But the biggest thing is apparently is that everything shows up backwards. Exactly. So, nothing like having to try and figure all that stuff out on the fly. You would think, and maybe I'm approaching something logically, which is probably my first problem, that when you set something down and you set, hang on just a second, I dropped something. When you set something down and you sit there and you you sit there and you're going, I think I've got everything set up fine with the camera and the setup. And then you just kind of walk away because, I don't know, you've done it however many days in a row you've done it. And then all of a sudden you come back and it's like, things are different. Great. Fantastic. And then you have to troubleshoot on the air. So troubleshooting on the air is where you guys always help me out because I don't know what I'm doing first and foremost if something is wrong. And so we always kind of walk through it live on the air, and you guys always fix the problems because you're smarter than I am when it comes to these things. So anyway, yeah, the whole notion of, I don't know, actually just, coming in, having a setup, and then you're like, yeah, everything's fine. But no, apparently not. Intrepid producer Rich Ransom in this morning with Mark High News. Christoph Kramer may be set to join the Union, according to their insiders. Currently in talks with the club after being released from Borussia Mönchengladbach at the end of last season. He joined in the window. Mark High News will keep you updated. Jenny Gatti. So where is Mark High News based anyway? Top trends, 357 followers. Okay. So that's my first thing. 357 followers. Yeah, not tier one desperate for news. Okay, so keep an eye on Christoph Kramer, apparently, when it comes to the Union And apparently Rich is like desperate for news. So, all right. So here's what we've got. Yesterday, it was Ronny Deila and the tour of the Atlanta media. So you had Deila basically getting the chance to sit down and catch up with the Atlanta media for like 10 minutes at a clip. And so he got to sit down with Maddie and Jason for 10 minutes. And it ended up being a conversation on Atlanta Soccer Tonight. You can go back on the Odyssey app, 92.9 The Game, go to the Off the Woodwork section. You can listen to the full conversation and to the full AST that Jason had and was catching up with Maddie and with Ronny Deila. Here is part of that conversation that Ronny had with Maddie and Jason about his coaching career and what he has learned at all the stops along the way.
What is the biggest lesson that you've learned throughout your whole coaching journey, that whether it was from earlier on or even from very, very recently, what has been the biggest thing you've learned throughout your coaching career?
Oh, that's a big question. I think very difficult to answer, but I think one of the biggest is exactly this: with have a humanistic side of people. Believe that people wants. I think that's it's easy to sit and be a boss and say everything what they're gonna do, and you're not good at this, and you are lazy, you are this. I believe that people want. So when people are not performing as good as they should have done before, I look first on myself. What I am doing wrong that I don't get the best out of this person. Instead of pointing at him, I look pointing at myself, because then he don't feel safe. He doesn't know what's expected. He doesn't feel a part of it. He doesn't enjoy it. Can be homesickness. Can be that something in his family is wrong. It can be many things, but there's always a reason. So many times when I get angry, if I attack a person, and then after I say, I'm sorry because I haven't slept for a long time because my son has been sick, and then I feel like a stupid guy afterwards because I attack a guy that I say, why don't you tell me before? But if I just had opened up with us, how are you, my friend? How is it at home? And he will maybe at once say, oh, my son has been sick, I've been so tired. Yeah, I've seen lately that you have, you haven't been yourself. Yeah. What can I help you with? How can I do? You need an extra day at home. Then you build trust instead of you attacking the person. So to believe in people, that's I think it's the most important thing, and that it is about being clear. So the clear messages, that is make safety. So people want direction, and when you give that, then I think they get confidence and believe in what they're doing.
Ronny Deila, the head coach for Atlanta United, in discussing what he's learned in his time as a manager. And so really interesting conversation there with that particular question. Once again, go to the Off the Woodwork section at 929thegame.com and the Odyssey app. You can go back and listen to the full conversation that Maddie and Jason had with head coach Ronny Deila. And there were other folks. Tyler got him to cuss, I think. Tyler's that basically in his question, Ronny said that Atlanta United was too nice. So that basically what he wants to do is he wants to come to the table and basically remind you that ATL ain't nothing to F with, basically. So we'll see what the edge that Ronny Deila wants Atlanta United to have as a club how it will manifest itself. So you'll see what the layout is. So yesterday, the word came out of the signing of a signing for Atlanta United, and as it turns out, it's an individual that played in Japan but is from New York. So you got to see who one of the new folks up front is and is going to be for Atlanta United, and it is going to be Kemen Togashi. So Togashi-san comes from Sagantosu in the J League, born in New York City. And so Togashi-san signs on a free through the 25 season with an option for 26. Played with Sagan Tosu in the Japanese top flight. And he born in the U.S., 10 years of professional experience to Atlanta. He will occupy a supplemental spot and be a domestic player, obviously, with his time, being born in New York City. So Chris Henderson, quoted as saying he's a forward the scouts have been following over the past few months, joined as a domestic, bringing 10 years of professional experience with him, scored goals at every club throughout his career, and with the amount of games and competitions we're in, depth at the forward position is always something we need. We feel that Kamen will fit in nicely with the group of forwards, end quote. Togashi comes from Major League Soccer, entire professional career in Japan. Born in New York City, moved to Yokohama when he was young, joined the Yokohama Marinos Youth Academy, decided to play collegiate soccer at Kanto Gakuen University. After graduating in 2015, signed his first professional deal with Yokohama, hometown club. Made his professional debut, scored the game winner against FC Tokyo in J1 League. 51 appearances, 10 goals over the next couple of seasons. Loan stint with FC Tokyo, moved to J2 side Makita Zelvia in 2019. 5 goals in 30 before transferring to Vivera Nagasaki ahead of the 2020 campaign. And Togashi moved to Vegalta Sendai in 21. Had his most prolific scoring season the following year, 11 goals, 2 assists, and 37 matches played. Earned a move back to the top flight with Sagan Tosu, 7-3 over the last 2 seasons. Represented Japan at the U23 level, played in the 2016 Toulon tournament. And Xande Silva represented Portugal in the same tourney, had 1 goal and 4 appearances for country. So Kamen Togashi, 5'9", comes in at the age of 31 and comes in on a free. So that means that right now, the roster for Atlanta United, in net, Cohen, Gazan, and Hibbert. Defenders, Abram, Amador, Cobb, Matthew Edwards, Stian Gregerson, Ronald Hernandez, Brooks Lennon, Efren Morales, Derek Williams. 9 midfielders as well. Jay Fortune, Mateus Klick, Saba, Miranchuk, Mosqueda, Muyumba, Will Riley, Bart Sleesh, Aiden Torres. 5 forwards, Luke Brennan, Ashton, Gordon, Xande Silva, Jamal, and Kamen Togashi. So that is where things currently stand involving the roster. So that is 18 and 8, 26 right now for Atlanta United as they get ready for training camp and they get ready for the 2025 season. So right there is what you're hunting for. It was in in an article by Doug Robertson of the AJC that laid out Togashi-san is part of the depth that they are looking for, and you heard that in the soundbite from Chris Henderson, that Kamen Togashi is part of the depth that is being chased after by Atlanta United. And so the timetable that was given about and folks to chase after. And so Togashi seen this competition as backup striker, similar to the role held by Daniel Rios last year. So first signing made by Chris Henderson. Togashi can play as a single striker, second striker, or left winger, which will give Ronny Deila options with formations, 5'8", and right-footed. So Togashi and Jamal are the experienced strikers on the roster as they try and sign a third, according to Doug Robertson's article, likely a DP, which makes sense. And the club also reportedly has been interested in signing Furuhashi. Lagerwey wouldn't talk about Furuhashi-san, but said that signing Togashi is unrelated. Once again, that lends itself to the notion of Togashi being depth and striker number 3. Togashi, first player from a Japanese league signed by the club. The Asian market is one that Lagerwey and Henderson explored and used successfully while in Seattle. Quoting Garth Lagerwey with Doug, it's a market that I think is interesting. I think it's a good league. It's a good level. Players tend to be hardworking, tend to be disciplined. Should be a good profile match, I think, for Atlanta United. Lagerwey cautiously optimistic they'll sign at least either the DP level striker or another DP level midfielder or winger during the January window. The club is not going to rush to make a signing. They're not going to be limited to the more than $40 million they have from the sale of several players last year. Also pursuing a few other depth pieces to fill out the roster. Lagerwey said those processes are far along. Lagerwey said in terms of the DPs, those are the big focus. Can we get the right guys in by the start of the season. So that's the rundown from that's the rundown from Garth Lagerwey when it comes to player pursuit here in 2025. So coming up in a half hour, we have the rundown, by the way, for Nino Torres as we go around the planet, and we'll see what's going on in the mind of Nino as we go. So, all right. So, Ricky was not the only person to bring this up yesterday. The fact that someone had the Kyogo article at MLSsoccer.com ready to go and published it was hilarious. That got a big oops. That got a big oops yesterday. Not Furuhashi-san, but Togashi-san. So Togashi in for Atlanta United on a free. Now, there was a article. There was an article that was published yesterday. One of the domestic, hey, we're going to go ahead and post things and look at the landscape and all that. There was a domestic MLS website, and they posted a report, and that's how I'm going to phrase it, because I could only find this information in one other place. And it has to do with Paulinho at Toluca. Once again, as we go, you are checking your sources and you are checking how many times the particular sources are accurate. The report came across about Paulinho and Atlanta United. Now, the domestic site that published the article only has about 2,700 followers. Going and working a search on Paulinho and Atlanta United, you go to another site in South America, in Central America, in Mexico, and this is dated back on the 29th of December, Publimetro Mexico, 741,000 followers. And once again, this is going off of December 29th information, so 12 days ago, where you had a domestic MLS website that had about 2,800 chasing this piece of information. The first release of the information from Publimetro. What? Where's my pop-up? Wow, that's loud. Okay. So, all right. So Publimetro Mexico, December 29th, posting a piece having to do with Atlanta United ready to make an offer, and this is Google translated on Publimetro Mexico, ready to make an offer for the Scarlet Striker because of the uniform that is being worn at Toluca. After having had, this is Irving Chavez at Publimetro Mexico. After having had a spectacular season in the Apertura, Paulinho is starting to make a name for himself in the international transfer market, according to latest reports of rumors around. Here's Google Translate. Rumors around hell. That's, like I said, that's Google Translate. The goal scorer has been seen by several clubs, but it is Atlanta United of MLS, the team that would dare to seek the signing for 2025. Important to remember that the Portuguese striker has only been in Liga MX for one season, able to adapt without any problems, becoming the competition's sole top scorer, 13 goals, 19 matches, including the 2 quarterfinals. For its part, and then they go into signing Giakoumakis, Toluca decided to protect Paulinho, and the news sounds very strong, thanks to the Portuguese media O Jogo. However, within the team, it is not a topic of concern since at the time of signing him for $8.2 million from Sporting Lisbon, the Choriceros imposed a clause of $15 million, an amount that very few clubs can afford. Striker's been a real killer in his career. Once again, Google Translate. 465 matches, 157 goals, 63 assists, playing for Trofense, Santa Maria, Gil Vicente, Braga, Sporting Lisbon, and Toluca. At the moment, the team's led by Antonio Mohamed, has no casualties in attack, as well as Paulinho, rumors have pointed out important players from the team, such as Alexis Vega, who seems to be aiming for America. So that was back on December 29th. December 29th, Paulinho Toluca with a $15 million release clause. So like I said, this time of year, that's kind of what we're staring at. And that's the only, like I said, that report December 29th was followed up by a U.S. MLS website tied to one of those fan dealies. And then it was like 2,800 followers to this particular 280 character app account. So we'll see. So that's so keep an eye on Paulinho. Obviously, continue to keep an eye on what we've been discussing about Ronny Deila's former club in Scotland, whether it is Furuhashi Hatate or Daisen Maeda or some combination of whomever. So we'll keep an eye on that and keep an eye on Paulinho and Toluca and a $15 million release clause for activity up top. So keep an eye on all of that. Keep an eye on all of that. So there you go. All right. So other news in and around what's going on in Major League Soccer and the world. Something to keep an eye on. I was on I was on a Canadian program that I'm traditionally on a bunch of different forums. And it was interesting to hear the pushback from Canadian pundits, etc. And with what was going on with all of the discussion involving Insigne, Bernardeschi, Toronto FC, the sale of the Vancouver Whitecaps, etc. Keep an eye, and these are guys who were flying off the handle. And I mean, it's like it's a point of no return, jumping. Literally, they're jumping. It's Kevin Bacon on the sidewalk at the Faber homecoming parade. And he's ranting and raving and hands up in the air and the whole deal. There seems to be a concern on multiple fronts within the grassroots elements in Canadian soccer about the level of interest that folks have these days in having franchises in Canada that are tied to Major League Soccer. There is a real concern that since Axel Schuster and everyone who is attached to the Vancouver Whitecaps is selling, but considering where Vancouver was, they've done a bang-up job in building up that franchise. And so now the Whitecaps are up for sale. And as you see, a lot of the time when it comes to families and estate taxes and things like that, there are real concerns about hanging on. If older members of sports ownership families pass on, and then you have the taxes that are attached to things like that, then what do you do? In Vancouver, there is a real concern that the Whitecaps will no longer be the Whitecaps and that they will move south of the border. Like I said, this is just other stuff that it comes up from grassroots coaches and things like that up north of the border. There's a concern that no one is stepping up. Orca Bay, anybody, tied to the BC Lions, tied to the Vancouver Canucks. No one's interested right now in picking up the Whitecaps and adding them to their portfolio. Vancouver Province had an article posted where they were trying to figure out who the new Whitecaps owners could be, and it was posited that it could be, it's one of the multi-club model types, that it would fit really well. So there are questions in Vancouver. None of the other local sports ownership groups seem to be interested in wanting to pick up the Whitecaps. So who will pick up the Whitecaps? Question A. Then, since a lot of the folks on this panel discussion were tied to the Toronto scene, and they are. They're tied to what's going on in Toronto, grassroots, collegiate, secondary school, whatever you want to call it. There seems to also be a concern, and I find less credence in this than I do in Vancouver, that Toronto FC, at least the front office of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, seems to be interested less and less and less in the day-to-day operations of Toronto FC and, what they plan to do involving Toronto FC. So MLSC seems to be more interested in all of the other toys that they have, less and less interested in what's going on with Toronto FC. But in letting them talk, which is more like letting them vent, in this panel discussion that I was in a couple days ago, for me, having that asset and losing interest in that asset seems to be counterproductive for the whole for MLSC, because you're talking about a stadium that's an asset. You're talking about a team that's an asset. You're talking about everything else that's attached to it in a major sport, especially with all the activity that's coming to this hemisphere over the next 5 years. So they are tied to freaking out right now north of the border when it comes to their two of their MLS franchises. And they are also looking at Joey Saputo in Montreal and wondering Joey Saputo's level of interest in CF Montreal no longer impact, because it seems like Joey is losing interest in Montreal. So suffice to say, it was one of those sky is falling panel discussions about the three franchises in Major League Soccer. A lot of concern about Vancouver because no one's really jumping up and going, and Ricky and Commando have made the thought about Ryan Reynolds, which makes a lot of sense. But would Ryan Reynolds drop $360 million, say, to pick up the Vancouver Whitecaps? I don't know. Considering that he and Rob McElhenney picked up Wrexham for the equivalent of a song and dance by comparison, and have been able to invest fairly unfettered to build Wrexham to where they are. And do not be surprised by the end of this season if they end up being promoted to the championship. And this is where their work really begins, because then you've got to worry about being fiscally responsible, not like half of the clubs currently in the EFL Championship, whose spending is anywhere from, at some points, 205% of revenue, trying to get back into the Premier League. And we've had that discussion before. But I think that when Wrexham came online in the McElhenney, Ryan Reynolds era, you ended up with a team that could make its way out of the National League fairly easily, get its way out of League Two easily. League One would be a little tougher. And that's where they are. You're seeing what they're getting with Stephen Fletcher coming off the bench. And it's taking these kinds of investments and working your way gradually to this point. I think that if Wrexham works their way to being promoted, then the work really does start. How fiscally responsible are you going to be as owners in the EFL Championship? Are you an EFL Championship club for a year or two? What is the level of patience involving everybody trying to get Wrexham to the Premier League and continue the Cinderella story? But my long-winded response there is more along the lines of Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, and trying to figure out, okay, would Ryan, I don't think he would do it solo. I think that he would try and find investors if there was a way to try and keep the Whitecaps in Vancouver. I don't think that Reynolds and McElhenney would drop the 360-ish, say, by themselves. I think it would go consortium. So we'll see what happens with the Whitecaps. Rich says he hates to say it. Whitecaps didn't work in Vancouver. They need to relocate, and I don't think the city will even miss them. I think that there will be elements of the city that will miss them. You had to be in BC Place. I think you did. Just because of what you're trying to do in building Vancouver as a soccer city and building off of the momentum of the Women's World Cup as a venue, etc. I think that you had to have the venue. You had to have them in BC Place. The other element in this is the Canadian Premier League and Pacific FC, etc. Teams that are in the suburbs that are a part of the growth of the CPL. And now the National Women's League that's coming online too. I think you might have pockets of Vancouver that would miss them. But to the extent of if the Whitecaps went to San Antonio, as an example, just to say, and I know Harry just lit up. That would be the question, is where in the United States would you relocate the Whitecaps to and make sure that it's a solid move? Like I said, there's the closer we come to this time zone, the less concern I have about the clubs involved in Major League Soccer. And to Ricky's point, Ricky says, I don't think shrinking the Canadian market is the right answer. I'd ask Gary Bettman about that. I think you need to grow in the Canadian market in the National Hockey League, but that's just me. But no, sure, go ahead and give Phoenix another chance. Sure, why not? All right, now Nino Torres coming up in a little less than 20 minutes to break everything down around the planet. I don't know about Seth Rogen and being a soccer fan, Kevsey. I don't. That's a good question. Let me say hi to everybody since we are at this particular point of the discussion this morning. Morning, Alex. Morning, Absinthe or Ab5th. And let's see. Morning, Will. Will's all the hype for a third string striker who hasn't played much in 2 years. Okay, so I would just ask. I would ask this. When you see things produced, and I see this from folks outside of the SDH universe, where folks want, and I saw it yesterday after the announcement of Togashi-san being signed. Don't yell at the social media people. And like I said, this is not directed at the SDH universe. This is just me speaking in general. And I saw this a lot yesterday from folks that are not, that just are on the 280 character app just to yell. I saw folks yesterday on the 280 character app yelling about firing the admin. They're just doing a job. And so this paragraph is more just for the ether in general. This is not directed at anyone here in the SDH first. But they're there to do a job. They're told to do things. And what they do is incredible work. When you see things like fire the admin because it wasn't the player that you wanted, I think you need to kind of step back a little bit. And we see this, sadly, too much these days, where people are yelling at folks who have no control over a situation. The social media folks have no control over player personnel decisions. They don't, contrary to popular belief. They're told to do something. Hey, do something really pretty that involves a soccer ball traveling from New York City to Mount Fuji and turning into a starburst. Yet some folks always feel compelled to yell at the social media folks about their artwork and about their attention to their craft and about it not being something that that particular individual wanted to have happen in their universe. So I would just ask those of you here that was as a part of the SDH verse. If you see folks that are yelling at social media admins for stuff that is out of their control, you're probably talking about someone who is just out of college, might be an intern, that is doing a job that they love doing. They have gotten in the door at their favorite club, whomever it is, to do really cool things involving artwork to tell a story that has nothing to do with a player personnel decision. And when you see people who hop on the 280 character app and they yell at probably college students or folks just out of college who really enjoy their work and are really invested in their work that has nothing to do with the signing of a player, when you see somebody sit there and say, fire the admin, the individual on the 280 character app that decides that that's the take that they want to have wound up just a little too tightly. Need to come back with a little bit of perspective. Don't yell at the social media admin. Don't yell at a posting. They're doing their job. Take the work for what it is. They're doing what they're being told to do. So that's my rant for this morning. I saw that happening yesterday after Togashi-san was announced. And you sit there and you cock your head and you go, come on. You know, just dial it back about 9 notches, okay? And so if you would please, just kind of go ahead and pass along those same words next time you see folks. Just pass it along. Don't yell at the folks that are just starting out in their lives. And also when you see individuals who are kvetching about a signing and it's not the one that you want, I mean, you got these folks. This goes back to the Roy Kent drop that we have. You know, just because you buy a ticket thinks that when Roy Kent said that means that you think that you can yell whatever abusive ish you want. Just a reminder that those folks are also people. The social media folks are people. The players that come in to be a part of the roster, they're people. They're people too. They've got families. They've got concerns just like the rest of us. So just take it easy. I know that social media is there to be social and it's there to be media, but just don't yell at the social media people. They have no bearing on what's going on. They're not the ones in charge of bringing in players. So just there you go. So if you would pass along that note, I would greatly appreciate it. Okay. That's enough of the rant for hour number 1. Like I said, Nina's going to join us in about 10 minutes. Let me say hi to everybody. All right. So morning, KFC. Morning, Alex. Let's see. Morning, Rich. Welcome back. Let's see. I'm trying to see. I can go with the Rich. We talked about the Rich news. And Alex said the fact that Kyogo played makes him hesitant that it is imminent, though. Keep an eye. If it is Furuhashi-san that they are chasing, keep an eye on the minutes. Keep an eye on the minutes in competition. Also, Rich says, if Deila wants to fight just because Curtin isn't there anymore doesn't mean the union can't accommodate. Yeah, I know. Oh, I know. I know that's definitely there. Let's see. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Kefsey. Morning, Rich. We don't start nothing, but we happily finish it. I know what some Atlanta United fans might have issue with that. Let's see. Morning, Harry. Yeah, it's to everybody. And this is, I will take this PSA as well. Stay warm and safe. Yeah. As of right now, and also obviously keep your warmest love for everybody out in Southern California too. But yeah, stay warm and safe over the next couple days. Obviously, weather permitting, we'll have a show tomorrow and we'll talk things. Because like I said, we're supposed to be catching up with our friends, the new head coach at Carolina Core, is going to be they're Carolina Core's new head coach and MLS Next Pro is going to be joining us in hour number 2, weather permitting. Hopefully, our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring can join us in hour number 1 to wrap that up so we can catch up with them and get 2025 started in the Friday Free Kick. But once again, Friday, we'll go through everything, get you ready for the weekend, and rock and roll there. But more than anything, everybody just stay warm and stay safe. You saw the joke about driving on ice. If you can't drive around in the sun, then don't drive around on the ice. We'll talk about one after the other. But yeah, so right now in the Atlanta area, it's supposed to be a mix on Friday, so we'll see. Make sure that you turn your faucets. Make sure that you cover your outdoor faucets. Make sure that all of your pets and your friends' pets are covered and they're warm and that they've got a place to stay and that they're well fed. And also look out for those less fortunate. That means I've got to make a Secret Santa run. So there you go. But yeah, stay warm and safe, everybody, please. All right, so Tom also says best part of what he said that is not going to compromise on the quality of player just to get signings done. Signings for the sake of signings. Fans will moan, but that's the right way. Let's see. Tom, all of the feet stomping and gnashing of teeth and throwing toys out of the pram by unknowledgeable fans yesterday was hilarious. So obviously, Ricky, hoping you won't have to wait long. And then the oops by the folks at MLSsoccer.com. MLS jumping the shark, according to Derek, with that posting on the MLSsoccer.com. And Tom, I did not see this. Did you see all the pushback there was from Miggy's people saying that he was just traveling to see family, that nothing's happening with Charlotte? I did not. Did not see that. But yeah, yesterday when it looked like Miggy was looking for some kind of transportation at Charles de Gaulle and he was like 6th in a queue, everybody's sitting there going, PSG! Or something like that. So we'll see. Let's see. Expansion markets. Pittsburgh, Indy, Vegas, New Orleans. Pittsburgh. Right now, Pittsburgh seems to be happy with the Riverhounds. Highmark Stadium seems to fit the audience, seems to fit what they're looking for, and seems to fit the size of the consistent interest that you would need. Indy, we know the talks that the mayor was willing to have with Major League Soccer about building a massive facility, and Indy 11 wasn't too happy about that. We can always catch up with Greg Rakestraw and find out more about that. Vegas is interesting. You saw what the investment was by the ownership group into Vegas Lights and Cashman Field, and then you saw what happens when you invest in players. You do well in the Western Conference and USL Championship. I still think that they've got to prove themselves there on that size of a market before you can include Vegas in any kind of expansion. New Orleans, you'd probably have to play at Caesars, but I don't know what the dimensions are on the field. I don't know if it could fit an MLS regulation FIFA size kind of a turf. But remember, in the past, we've had folks who want to bring USL Championship to New Orleans. They'd play at the old Zephyr Stadium. And I don't know if that's what Major League Soccer would be looking for in a venue. So it would probably have to be shoehorned into the Superdome, and we'll see what happens. Michael. Morning, Michael, by the way. Anyone else getting antsy about the club rebuild? Think we need a full roster which includes your DP striker before preseason. Preseason's pretty much done. Still have 3 weeks. Remember, in the past, players have been signed during training camp. So I don't know if I understand that Michael's antsy. I don't know how many others of you are antsy. So antsy has different levels of antsiness. So, Ricky, once again reminding us, sign critical players in the middle and the back half of preseason before. Let's see. Michael just wants the club to be a serious club. Serious clubs don't put out cutesy animes about third-string strikers. They're treating everybody equally. You treat everyone equally when they come in the door. It's a depth piece, yes. but I think you're treating everyone equally. Rich, most MLS fan bases still see this in the lens of other sports. All business must be done before training camp or before spring training. Let's see. Morning, Tom. Morning, Alex. Let's see. Then Ricky says if there's a volume 2 that ends up being Kyogo or another DP, keep an eye on that. Absinthe isn't so much antsy as tired of starting behind the curve every year. So we'll see. But really quickly, other news. Let's see. Did you see? Okay, the Crew signed Lassi Lapalainen. USL Championship might be returning to Puerto Rico. And it looks like Yadi Molina might be in charge of that ownership group. So, and that would be to the stadium in Bayamon. It looks like Sports Bank is in an exclusive negotiating window with John Texter over his section, over his percentage, the 40+% of Eagle football. Keep an eye on that. Danny Olmo and Pau Victor. Remember, we talked about that with Barcelona yesterday. It appears that the sports court in Spain said, "No, it's all good. Y'all can go ahead and play." And there was no longer a gnashing of teeth. There's only a gnashing of teeth by certain individuals. Pat Onstad got to sign a contract extension in Houston. I know there was a scary moment yesterday with Spurs and Rodrigo in the Carabao Cup. He was taken off the field after collapsing. No update on Rodrigo. We might have an update. I might try and see if we can find an update on Rodrigo after Niko Moreno at 11 o'clock. Getting into gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Napoli are considering Federico Chiesa as one of the names as a potential replacement for Kvichka Kvaratskhelia if he leaves this month. Chiesa signed from Juve in the summer, 4 appearances for Liverpool because of fitness struggles. Sky Italy reporting Napoli would be interested in taking him on loan toward the end of the window. Chiesa signed for an initial fee of 10 that could rise to 12.5. Lille's Edon Jagrova is another option Napoli are said to be looking at. That deal is likely to be said to be a difficult one to do. West Ham are the latest to show an interest in Marcus Rashford. There's an acceptance it would be an extremely difficult deal to do given Rashford's wages. Growing feeling Rashford is likely to move to a European club if United sanction a move. However, West Ham have been asked to be kept updated with any developments. Rob Edwards has left Luton. Remember the season that Luton had last year, almost making it out of the relegation zone in the Premier League, back in the Championship. Left the club by mutual agreement, departing after 4 straight Championship defeats, leaving them 2 points above the relegation zone. Appointed November of 22, led him to the Premier League in May of 23. Immediate relegation, struggled in the Championship, 2 places above the drop zone in 20th. United winger Alejandro Garnacho is an Atletico Madrid target, according to TalkSport. Left Atleti to join Man United 2020, has a contract at Old Trafford until 28. Brighton and Borussia Dortmund are among clubs keeping tabs on Harvey Elliott at Liverpool. Potential availability in the next 2 transfer windows. U21's minutes restricted following an injury at the start of the campaign. Possibility of an exit increasing as a result. Once again, Brighton, Borussia Dortmund, according to Lyle Thomas at Sky Sports. PSG have made contact with Napoli over the move for Kvaratskhelia. Open to selling him, but are demanding around 80 million euro. Gap in valuations, no surprise between the 2 clubs. What a shock. Southampton confirmed the signing of an 18-year-old defender from Valenciennes. Liverpool's women have completed the signing of Julia Bartel on loan from Chelsea's women to the end of the year. Chelsea women have loaned Amy Claypole to Championship side Durham for the remainder of the season. Sunderland have now an agreement in place with Roma for Enzo Laffi. 24-year-old only signed with Roma from Rennes last summer for £19 million. Struggled for game time. Previously played for Régis Lebris at Lorient. Stephen Walsh joined KV Mechelen on loan for the end of the season from Celtic. Latvia captain Kristers Tobers decided Aberdeen was the best place to progress his career after feeling the love of the Dons fans. Center back signed a 3.5-year deal after joining from Grasshoppers for an undisclosed fee. I'm not even going to talk about that one. Milan tell Manchester United they will only pay half of Marcus Rashford's wages. That's from the Times. And so you've got that, avoiding the 3 and the 4 letter paper. as we always do. Graham Potter expected to appoint as his West Ham number 2 Spanish coach Narcís Pelàs, who was Stoke City manager between September and December last year. Manchester United have hoisted a metaphorical everything must go sign aloft at Old Trafford with the revelation they'll listen to offers for every player. West Ham splashed out $3.3 million in compensation to sack Julian Lopetegui. Chelsea could axe up to 9 players, including Nkuku, in an effort to sign Mark Gahey from Crystal Palace. Ruben Amorim has handed opportunities to 4 academy players in a bid to shake up Manchester United's training sessions. And seeing that means it's time to bring in somebody to talk about this kind of stuff. It's after 10 o'clock, so I'm late. I'm horribly late. I'm 2 minutes in, and for this, we bring in our buddy, Nino Torres, where we go fully loaded. Yellow, yellow, yellow.
Yellow, 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 everybody. John, everyone, Jason, everyone, Niko, and all the fans from Soccer Down here across the globe, not just across the country, across the globe, all right? Across the entire planet. How's everybody doing? How's you doing, John?
Well, after I figured out that my picture was reversed and people were seeing like logos and backward lettering, and that I had apparently muted my microphone to start the show this morning, I was a fantastic start, brother.
Getting used to the new thing, huh?
Yeah,
I like it, man. I like this restream, man. It's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. I see the comments. It's the layout is I think it's better than StreamYard, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll switch too, because I'm a StreamYard guy too, so we'll see.
Yep, so we will definitely figure out what's going on. As always, what I like to do is I like to ask you what is on your mind. And when we go fully loaded and tour the planet and find out what's going on. But I stopped at that Ruben Amorim piece of information on purpose, because we kind of go into Portugal a lot because of all the time that you get to spend there looking at the first division. And it appears that Ruben Amorim is just basically bringing up academy dudes to be there at practice for Manchester United, almost to kind of send a bit of a warning sign that no one is safe, and I'll bring up youngins to sit there and challenge you folks. That scene, he ain't taking no mess from nobody.
He's the boss. He's the boss. He knows how to play. He knows the rules, and he likes to rule. That's the kind of guy that Amorim is. He likes to get an input on every single detail from the ball boys to the GM. All right, he likes to keep the detail on everything, and the recent performances from all the teammates. You saw news that Casemiro is most likely going to leave. It's a transition process. He understands that he needs to take some action that nobody else took before. No other coach took that route that he's taking now. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Okay, but trust the process. Trust the process and trust the guy. Because this is the guy that Manchester United needed. And he is going to bring back all the glory to the Manchester United. Yes.
All right. Wow. All right. So I'm marking that soundbite. You said he's bringing all the glory back to Manchester United. So I'm marking the soundbite that you're saying it right now. January 9, 2025, he's bringing the glory back to Manchester United. I'm hanging on to this soundbite. All right, topic number 1. Sad news in Peru. We no longer have people with soccer IQ in the Peruvian Soccer Federation.
Yeah, it's that brutal, man. So in the span of a month, right? In the span of a month, we lost the technical director. All right. They fired the head coach of the Peruvian national team. And now the probably the most important person with the most the person with the highest soccer IQ in the entire Peruvian Soccer Federation just put his 2 weeks notice. And that's Chemo El Solar, who is he's in charge of all the under 20, under 17, under 15 teams in the Peruvian national team. He's gonna play the the Sudamericano in Venezuela. But after that tournament is over, he's done. He quit. He said good night and good luck. Yeah, we need that good luck a lot, man. We need we need everything that you can ask for in terms of luck. Now that I was saying this, right, John, but I'm gonna add this to this add another topic into this topic because it's perfectly related.
Sure.
Right. This the under 20 South American tournament is gonna go on in Venezuela. It's supposed to be played here in Peru, but they took it away from us because the logistics were not taken in place and la la la. So the Peruvian Soccer Federation was a mess. So they were like, you know what? I don't like you anymore. Let's move the tournament somewhere else.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude. Sorry. Fix your issues first, and then we talk. So we're playing in Venezuela, but guess what? Venezuela with my boy Maduro. I said my boy Maduro. My boy Maduro, he's probably one of the most controversial leaders in the planet, right?
Yeah.
And he got hostage 125 people. Among those 125 people, there was an Argentine cop. Okay, an Argentine cop. He's hostage now. He's holding hostage in Venezuela. So in Argentina, President Milei said, my team is not going.
Wow.
The Minister of Defense from Argentina was like, you know what? We're not going to send the under-20 national team to Venezuela because there's no guarantees for the security for our kids.
Yeah.
These are our kids that we're not going to expose them. So they're not going to send them. As it now, no, we're waiting still what's going to happen because the tournament is going to play in February. But as it now, as it today, Argentina is not going to the under-20 South American tournament in Venezuela. Crazy, huh?
Well, I mean, if you're fearing for your life, then I could understand this. Like, nah, bro, we ain't coming. I mean, it's just it's simple safety. I mean, I completely and totally get it. So no, that's I get that completely. No, then it's just frustrating.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy, man. And of course, there's the the main reason is politics. It's politics. It's all about politics. And when you go into those decisions, the leaders are polarized on one side of the spectrum and the other one on the other side. So it's kind of a power clash in there. But still, if you want to protect your kids, you got to protect your kids, man.
Yep, absolutely true. Point number 2. There's a new boss in Milan. The magical arrival from Conceição to lead Pulisic and company. 2-0 once again is found out to be the most dangerous lead in soccer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know it, baby. You know it. And I watch the game, right? And it is just amazing because Conceição, he's just such a smart guy. He operates like a boss too, but he's a mafia boss, right? Amorim is like the boss, the corporate boss.
Okay.
And then Conceição is the mafia boss, the Tony Soprano of soccer, Mr. Conceição, right? he makes decisions, just like boom, like that. Like he sends Leao, he talks to Leao on the sidelines and like bones, made the substitutions and made this comeback with Pulisic. Man, first tournament, first Supercopa for Milan since 2011, man. Since 2011. And I gotta tell you something. These two clubs, right? Inter Milan and AC Milan, and they're gathering all the legends, to lead a transition for the clubs. Well, Inter Milan has been winning for a while now, but AC Milan, particularly with the Zlatan, with Maldini, and now bringing Conceição into the scene. I think the impact of the Portuguese manager, which is one of the best motivators in soccer, I would say, right? If you got Conceição in your locker room, you're gonna be fired up, and you gotta enter that pitch looking to kill somebody, right? The Sporting.
Yeah.
Soccerly talk, and But yeah, that's the kind of impulse and that the AC Milan needed, and I'm so glad to see Captain America leading the way. Pulisic, baby, come on, baby, win some for the Rossonerios.
What can a guy like Christian Pulisic learn from someone like Conceição?
I think it's the mentality. It's the mentality because there's this thing with Americans playing in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And but Pulisic, he grew up in Europe actually, right? He went to his academy from Borussia Dortmund because he's been in Europe for a long time already. But there's this, even in any other aspect, you're American, you go anywhere and you lead, right? You
Yeah.
lead. You set the tone. Not in soccer. I know when you go to play in Europe. Not that's not the case. I don't see any American soccer player stepping into a locker room like Real Madrid, AC Milan, Chelsea, like I'm the guy. You don't have that. You don't have that. And with Conceição, I think he is gonna elevate that from Pulisic to make him a leader of this team in AC Milan. That's the kind of transformation that I'm seeing happening with Pulisic and Conceição company. Yeah.
All right. So now topic number 3, as I sit here and I look, and yes, man's getting properly hydrated because he knows where we're going with topic number 3.
Woo!
Do you believe in angels? Benfica clearly does, as Di Maria rescued them again this season.
Unreal, man. Angel Di Maria, at 36 years old, is the best player from Benfica. He is the best player from Benfica. He is the one that carries the load for Benfica. Because Benfica cannot, they got 1, 2, 3 strikers. You put them all together and you cannot get one decent striker. You just can't. It's not Cabral, it's not there. Vangelis is not there. Siki Amdouni, he's a super stopper. He's not a true number 9. And then you have Angelito Di Maria, who he is, the role that he's assuming on this season for Benfica is ridiculous, man. Because he's not, he's a winger, right? He plays on the wings, but then he's transitioning. He's sitting deeper now. He is behind the scenes, leading the way. And the leadership that Di Maria is bringing to the table is ridiculous. And on top of that, they lost the Clásico for the Premier League against Braga for the third time ever. For the third time ever that Braga beat Benfica at Stadio de Luz. Only 3 times. Only 3 times, man. Okay? And they got to play them again yesterday for the Taça, for the League Cup. And Di Maria was like, you know what? It's showtime. Boom. Showtime. It's Angelito showtime. Boom, man. 2 goals and assists. Rock and roll for the Argentine. He put Benfica into the finals of the League Cup. They're going to go toe-to-toe with Sporting Club. Another Lisbon derby. And I'm just so... I can't wait for that game, man. I just can't wait for that game.
That matchup, Benfica and Firenze, is coming up in Natasha is coming up in 5 days. So that means Tuesday.
Benfica Sporting.
Yes, yeah. So okay, because I'm seeing it says so then Odds Portal has screwed it up. So they're like SC Firenze is who they're playing, but it's the actual Sporting. So.
Yeah, it is a Sporting club. Yeah.
So Casa Pia, Rio Ave, Gil Vicente Moreirense, then Benfica and Sporting on Tuesday. So that's where the Tasha is right now. Topic number 4. Topic number 4, as he gives it to me. My beloved Universitario and Messi together. What in the wide world of sports is this?
Oh boy, that information came up yesterday. My boy Franco Panizo, who covers the Inter Miami, posted this that there's a highly chance that Universidad Deportes and Inter Miami could play a friendly. They could play a friendly. They determine they're doing the logistics. Maybe it's going to be in Miami, or maybe here in Lima. 80,000 people stadium for Universidad de Deportes hosting Messi and company. Sign me up, baby. I'm gonna be there. If that game comes up, I'll be the first one in line, man. When I wanna be every single day clicking on the thing to see if we can get a ticket, man. Could you imagine that? That would be fantastic, man.
Oh, and I finally clicked on the right button where it's Sporting and Benfica are playing in the League Cup final.
Saturday.
Saturday. Sporting right now is a plus 136. Benfica is a plus 179. And your draw is a plus 223. 90-minute draw, 223.
And they go in the straight to penalties if they.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If there's 90 minutes over, boom, straight to penalties. So I can smell that. Get that smell, that penalty shootout coming in. And by the way, Benfica never won at finals in a penalty shootouts against Sporting. So
yeah. So Tuesday Sporting beat Porto 1-0. Last night Benfica 3-0 over Braga. And so it seems to me, well, it's like all of this madness. So they hadn't played since Halloween in League Cup until just now.
It's and they crap all the games in 2 weeks, and then it's kind of cuckoo. Yeah, it is. It is.
I was just checking to make sure that I wasn't seeing that wrong, because I was like, wait a minute. That one was kind of goofy when I was staring at that one. So right now, since we're in this gap week and you got the League Cup final coming up this weekend, Sporting is now a point ahead of Porto, but Porto's got a match in hand.
Yeah,
points to 40. Benfica has lost 2 in a row. They're at 38 points. That's 1, 2, and 3. That gets you through Europa League. Braga right now is in 4th ahead of Santa Clara on goal difference, both at 31 points. Then that gets you into the group separated 6 to 11, separated by 6 points. Vitória Guimarães apparently has decided that they're just going to draw their way through life, having drawn their last 4. Casapia, Moreirense, Famalicão, Rio Ave, Gil Vicente, the edge to 19 points.
He got it right. Look at that. He remember. He said Famalicão. Nice, Sean. Nice.
Well, because it didn't have the little tilde on the underside of the C.
Right. Look. That's the trick, right? With the thingies. Like in Conceição, right? You see when it's the thing in there, you say Sao, but then you got the one on top. That's cow.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're gonna learn me about all this Portuguese before we're done. Estoril, Estrela, AVS, and Aruca right now, they're the ones hanging out just above the relegation zone. Farense, Nacional, and Boa Vista. But I mean, if you look at from the bottom to 12. You got 7 teams separated by 6 points when it comes to the relegation fight right now. And
that relegation fight is gonna be. You know what? We were talking about this Boa Vista situation because they've been a mess for a long time, long time, and the last time they brought him back, actually they brought him back because of a court order. Right, there was a court order that brought back Boa Vista to the top flight division. Kind of same thing that happened here in Peru. We got 2 teams that are going back to the top flight division because of a court order outside of soccer. I don't know, man. I don't know how is that happening, but apparently you can make it happen. So yeah, in Boa Vista again, every single year they are the bottom 4, bottom 3. There's some way somehow the last 2 games of the season they remember how to play soccer, and then they we stay up, brother. We stay alive in the top flight division for another season. But
how does Boa Vista? I mean, other than court orders, because they ain't paying their bills. I mean, I remember the whole thing with Reggie Cannon, where they got Reggie Cannon from FC Dallas, and they're supposed to pay a transfer fee. Then they never paid the transfer fee. Then they never paid Reggie Cannon. It's like, bruh, what are you doing?
And it's crazy. I feel for a second that we are in I don't know, some second division of Peru or Venezuela or Chile or something, man, because that happens here in this side of the globe, man. But apparently it happens in Portugal too. There are the crooks everywhere. The crooks are everywhere. So, and I don't know how, because and it's every year. Every year they're behind 2-3 months on the payments. They go out of the 6 months that they play, they only get 2 months they're getting paid per season or something like that. It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I don't know how they do it, man.
What are you calling this weekend on Gold TV, by the way?
We got the Summer Soccer Series, which is Serie del Río de la Plata, right? And these are there are teams from Argentina, from Chile, from Uruguay and Paraguay playing this Summer Soccer Series. We got what I have here. I got Peñarol, Colo Colo. We got Unión de Santa Fe versus Católica. That's the game that I have on Saturday. I got Peñarol on Sunday, and then Tuesday we go with the Dutch Cup, the KNVB Cup. Got PSV versus Excelsior. Those are the games that I'm having coming up for on Gold TV.
How when you have to call these tournaments, how difficult is it getting information and getting rosters and getting everything all squared away, man?
The South American ones are fine, right? The thing that I have the most trouble is with the Dutch Cup, because in the Dutch Cup there's 134 teams from every single tier, brother.
Whew.
First division, second division, third division, fourth division. When I got teams from the fourth division, Jesus, mama. I'm so glad that my nephew who studies music in Amsterdam, he lives in Amsterdam. Boy, you gotta help me out on this, brother. You gotta help me on this. So I'm WhatsApping him, and he's like, "All right, I got this and this for you." So I got my contact in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. So he hooked me up with information when I'm having trouble finding it.
Wow. But I mean, that's the beauty of it. It's like you try and figure it out where you find out where it's all coming from, and it doesn't matter where your source is, as long as you get good sources, man. That's all that matters.
It is, yeah, it is crazy. And it's been, when I go with the names, man, I got them. I set up my YouTube, and I got listen. It's crazy, man. I spent like a good hour and a half or two trying to get the names right, because I don't want to go out there. It's gonna be like no.
I mean, it's crazy. I want to there. What do you think is going to happen at the end of the day to Manchester City? Because Tom Russo in the chat said he saw an article speculating that the Premier League could go for a 100-point deduction for City, by the way.
Nah. There's too much money, brother. There's just too much money for a team like that to go down. I mean, in Italy, it happened from time to time. It happened with Juventus, it happened with AC Milan, it happened with the big ones. But not in England. I don't believe that that's going to happen. I really don't believe that that's going to happen. And these guys, they don't move millions. They move billions. All right, they move billions, and when you move billions, you can move things around. You can, okay. So the Premier League can say whatever they want just to make a splash in the media, because they love soap operas, they love drama. So they're gonna set all these highlights out there, but in the end, the City is gonna be playing in the top flight division again. Maybe they're gonna pay a penalty. All right. Fine. Put me what's my fine? Okay, 20 million. Okay, there you go. That's your check.
Yeah, literally, it's like, okay, here's the deal. So what was it? 20 million. All right. All right. You got change for a 5.
Yeah. Like that.
I got pocket change. Let me go out to my car.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. You know that, man. It's crazy, man.
what other leagues do you just watch when you don't have anything to do? What other leagues do you just kind of kick back and sit there with the boss and go, hey, let's take a peek? What when you just chill, what do you watch?
I love Serie A. I watch Serie A a lot. I would love watch Serie A a lot. I watch a Premier League. I watch La Liga, and I watched a few games from the League On from the French league. I watched a few of those games, but I don't watch the PSG Monaco. No, I watch Lyon, versus Marseille. One of those games, games that they're not usually coming up on the radar of anybody else. Those are the games that I watch because I love to see maybe I can find a new talent or something. I'm a soccer junkie, man. I watch.
Well, nothing wrong with that. What do you think about Ranieri coming back and doing what he's doing?
He has a magic wand. He has a magic wand, and I don't think you know what because when he won with with Leicester, right? And nobody saw that coming, and now nobody saw him coming again.
Yeah.
So trust, you got to believe in this guy. You got to believe in this guy. I think he has the knowledge. He has all the experience, and he's not gonna go down easily. He's not gonna go down easily, and you're gonna see his teams fighting like crazy.
All right, one last question for you, and it's got to do with Messi and friends, and not the fact that they might visit. But it looks like possibly Lujan coming in, Allende coming from Celta de Vigo. Some reinforcements are there, or at least they're coming. What do you think legitimately is going to happen this season with Messi and friends? Are they going with the new manager and everything? What do you think is going to happen this year?
They're going to win the title this year.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they're going to win because the party's over. They make the splash, with all the signings, with all the names. Messi had his buddies. He got the MVP. He got the MVP, right? He got the, yeah. Nobody's happy about it, but guess what? He is gonna make everyone in the States, right, thinking, oh, this guy, he should be the MVP. He's still the MVP. He's still the best player on the planet, and he is gonna make sure that you don't have a single inch of doubt about him in the next season. That's what I'm expecting from him next season because he's a competitive animal, and boy, if he sees that not winning with this roster, he is gonna be mad. I'm telling you, right now he might be partying, doing all these Instagram posts and everything on the beach and with the mat and everything. But once he's back, this guy, he's gonna be all business. Like he's gonna send a message from day one to tell him, we win this or we win it. Okay, everybody with me? Yes, we're with you, Leo. Let's go. Let's get it done.
As always, my friend, it is great to catch up with you and get your thoughts on everything going in and around the planet. Where is the boss, by the way? Where is the four-leg?
You know where is he?
Right there.
Look at that.
Chilling and being security. Absolutely chilling and being security. Be safe, my friend. I heard car alarms and the policia behind you while we were doing our segment. And just be safe and be careful, my friend. We will catch up with you again next week. We go fully loaded and take the tour around the planet. We'll be watching you on Gold TV as always. Love you, my friend. Be safe. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.
All right, there he goes. And there goes Nino. It's always fun to, like I said, like we said last week, it's always fun to catch up with Nino because to get a different perspective, literally, where we can dial him up. He's hanging out at his place in Peru. How many people can sit there on a weekly basis and go, yeah, I'm calling a friend from Peru, and he's going to hop in on the show? So you saw, by the way, for us, it's like, it might be 0 degrees Celsius. You see how I'm dressed. He was in a blanket T-shirt. He was in a blanket T-shirt this morning. So it's probably like 20 degrees. And he's like, I'm just chilling. So 20 degrees. The thing I was the most concerned about, though, was the sirens and the car alarms. Because I heard those in the back. He's in the green room. He's shaking his head. He's like, nah, nothing's going on. But anytime you hear the policia and the car alarm, you're sitting there going, okay, all right, let's make sure that that's not my car. Is that my car alarm? No, it's not my car alarm. Okay, everything's cool. But no, when you have the chance, if you have not subscribed, if you don't know how to get into Gold TV, you can get Gold TV through our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. You get Fanatis, you get all the BNs, you get Nuestra Tele, CDO, For the Fans, Liga 1 Max, Liga 1 Max Pro. Did we mention Gold TV? Where you can catch up with our buddy Nino, and you can listen to Nino literally have a conversation with the officials and the players on air. Nino much like Amorim, he don't take no mess when he's calling games. If there's a shot that's bad, if a dude takes a shot from distance that ends up like in row Z, Nino will let you know that wasn't a good idea. If there's an official that he pulls a card, Nino doesn't like it, Nino will tell you. And he'll tell the official too. Not that the official can listen, which would be hilarious if he could. Nino tapped into the headset. You're listening to you get to listen to the play-by-play while you're making a call. Come in on VAR. Then Nino just interrupts you while you're on VAR. The end of the result of the play is a yellow. What? No, Nino, no, that's not. Just to have it. If he could have an interrupt function in VAR for the games that he's calling, that would be fantastic. But yeah, Nino, if you have not watched Nino on Gold TV, Nino don't take no mess, and it's always fun to hear him going over strategy, talking about players, talking about coaches, talking about calls. It is a conversation with the game that we love to watch. Nino is having a conversation openly with the game that he is there with. It is an experience. It is the NTE. It is the Nino Torres experience on Gold TV. All right. Final half hour. And that means one thing. That means we go to Seattle. How many shows do you know can go from Atlanta to Peru to Seattle? I think the answer to that is one. And this means we bring in our buddy Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports and the Soccer Bar. As always, my friend, good to see you. Good to have you hanging out here for the final half hour. And this is where we get to talk to you about stuff. That's the official term. What cup of coffee are you on, by the way?
This is cup number 2 of Joe. Just starting off the morning nice and easy, coasting today. Just excited to be on as always with you, John. We had a lot of movement yesterday in the city of Seattle. A lot of news. Craig Weibel was nice enough to provide us with a whole lot of things to talk about today. So it's definitely been it was an interesting Wednesday, to say the least.
No doubt about it. That's why I wanted to break it all down with you and get the lowdown, the lay down, and what's going on. So what we talked about, officially official, it is now folks going from Dallas to Seattle. Garber Bucks, international slot player heading to Dallas. What has been the official vibe now that the Jesus Ferreira deal is doner than done, and now he's a part of things in Seattle?
Yeah, look, it's interesting because from a national standpoint, from fans of other clubs, as usual, I guess, the move for Ferreira has been praised upon. And, there's a lot of even pundits that believe this was a great move for Seattle, the whole package deal in order to get a guy like Ferreira that has so much potential at his age, that's as versatile, to give Seattle all kinds of possibilities in terms of how they're going to include Ferreira into this attacking third. So that part has been interesting, how from people outside of Seattle, outside of the region, has been very high regarded. That move for Ferreira here in Seattle, and understandably so from certain people. It's been seen a little bit as an underwhelming move, especially after Craig Weibel was very clear that this is the big signing of 2025, that we are set when it comes to DPs for the rest of the year. Now, if you are part of this show, if you're part of this audience, you've heard from me that that was going to be the case. So you guys are not surprised today, but a lot of people were, that in one way or another, there's not going to be any more big signings per se, right? There's a U22. There's actually two U22 spots that could potentially be used. I think that Craig Weibel referred himself to one, and there could be something done with that U22. But in terms of what people are feeling in regards to the move, it's been 50-50, if not 60-40, in terms of it's a good move, 60, and it's a bad move, 40. I stand on the grounds that with everything that Craig shared yesterday, including the fact that Jordan Morris 2 years ago talked to the team and apparently in a pretty serious conversation said, hey, man, I need to be a DP. And the way that Craig was able to manage that situation was by saying, look, we're going to put some goals, some metrics in your contract. And if you meet these metrics, then you're going to be able to be a DP. It's going to raise your threshold of pay to being a DP. And that's why he's a DP next year. So with that in mind, you have to applaud the fact that they were able to get a guy like Ferreira on a non-DP deal, and they are better today than they were in 2024. That simple.
Underwhelming? Folks think that this is an underwhelming deal. Huh?
Yeah.
That 40%.
Yeah, I would think that 40% at the lowest, to be honest, are underwhelmed. And I've yet to respond to certain comments from, very loyal fan base. And they have every right to inquire and to have their own thoughts. And that's their prerogative, right? If they want to hold the club to a certain standard, then, that is totally okay with me. But underwhelming is a tough word for me to kind of understand, right? Because Ferreira, again, is a guy that has a lot of potential, man. That, I mean, if this move was made 2 years ago, away from injuries and away from a club that was just a mess, you'd think that people would be more excited, but that's just not the case right now. And look, you look across the league, and I think this is part of it, John. Whenever you look at Austin paying $10 million for Brandon Vasquez, and you see players like Cucho Hernandez and Denise Buanga and what LA Galaxy was able to do last year with Paintsol and Peck, then you put yourself in that mindset where, like, man, what if the Sounders were to get this type of players? And that's all good and well. But this Sounders team was the exact same team that it wasn't easy, it wasn't ideal, but they did beat LAFC in the semifinals of the Western Conference. They did play a tough match against LA Galaxy and were very close to holding on to that game, maybe taking it to overtime. I'm not going to say that they were close to beating LA Galaxy, but they fought. They were in it. So now they're a little bit better. People were like, well, if they would have had certain type of players, well, now you have that, because that's what Ferreira brings, is another guy that's going to be a quality player that can do a lot, that he is a goal scorer, that he can create opportunities, whether he plays out wide, whether he plays behind the 9, whether he plays at the 9. I mean, he does bring a certain level of talent. So you're kind of checking in the boxes of what you really needed, but people still want that big time player, that European. You got people lying about Rashford coming to Seattle, and so people hold on to those strings, and they're like, oh, can it happen? It will not happen, by the way. And so that's the reason why people feel like this is underwhelming, because they want that big boom, that big splash. But sometimes the splashiness is not necessary. Look, people here are obsessed with the word ambitious. And Seattle has never been an overly ambitious team. They've always been a team that goes in the sense of how can we have sustainable talent? How can we be conservative? How can we make sure that we are always successful year after year? And we built off of that. And that's okay. That's been the formula for success, the formula for trophies in the past. So why move along from that? I don't see a reason to.
But sometimes, and I think that sometimes when you think of a big splash, when you put a splash in the pool, you don't have to have a cannonball off of the 10 meter. You don't have to be off of the high dive. You don't have to do a cannonball. It can be a can opener. It can be a swan dive. It's just the fact that you're making the dive in the pool and hitting the water the right way.
100%. And that's exactly why, look, as long as you're not inactive in the transfer window and not doing anything to better the team, then everyone should be okay. Especially when I go back to last season where the team was able to get results. It wasn't amazing soccer, but they were able to get results. So I thought Craig Weibel said it perfectly. He said, look, my job is to do and make this team better with the resources that I have. And look, as much heat as people throw onto Craig Weibel, he doesn't have the big open checkbook like Atlanta does or Miami does, or the type of budget that Austin is showing you this season, or Columbus. He doesn't have that, so he has to be able to move around and use those resources. Now, the whole thing with Jordan Morris, this Sounders team has needed Jordan Morris. So if 2 years ago, putting these metrics was the only way that Jordan would stay, you had to do it. You had to do it. And look, what I've understood is that obviously you put those metrics with him as a winger, and it was probably a lot harder to get those metrics than when you moved him at the 9. So, you kind of put yourself in a bad situation there. But again, that was the only way you were going to be able to keep this player. That Jordan might not be a Golden Boot contender every year, but he is Seattle's Golden Boot guy. He's the guy that's been providing the goals. So you needed him. Now, has there been room at times for Seattle to do a little bit more, to maybe go after it and maybe be a little bit more ambitious? Sure. That Raul Ruidíaz situation was mishandled. If you knew that he wasn't going to be the guy, could you have moved him? Could you have bought him out and gone out there and got yourself another DP? Absolutely. But if you don't have the transfer budget, you're not going to put yourself in that situation, John. You're just simply not going to do it. I'm not going to get rid of Raul Ruidíaz if I don't have the money to go and get myself a top DP player. So that's kind of what people need to understand when it comes to Craig Weibel. He has a job to do, but he also has a budget that he has to manage. I don't think, John, that if somebody was to be like, here, John, I'm going to give you $100,000 to make your show better, you'd be like, nah, I don't need the $100,000. I'll do it what I have. I mean, you're not going to do that, right? You're gonna use that money. But if you don't got that money, you're going to just do a great job doing what you're doing, right? With what you have. That's what Craig Weibel's doing. It's very simple.
So then who gets more credit for thinking this way, playing this 3D Klingon chess here, where Jordan Morris is like, tell you what, I'll give you 2 years, and then I need to be a DP. Who gets full credit here for thinking this far outside the box? Is it Weibel, is it Morris, or is it both?
I think it's Morris. I think it's Morris. And Craig said it. Look, I'm happy that I have a guy like Jordan Morris coming into my office and saying, hey, I deserve to be a DP. And then 2 years later, he's like, see, I proved to you guys that I did deserve to be a DP because I did meet those metrics. So it's definitely full credit to Jordan Morris that, again, for all the heat that he gets in some ways, he has been responding with some statistics. And does he have room to get better? Absolutely. Is he the ultimate 9? No, but he is a great soccer player that has proven to be an important part of this team. And I think with Ferreira, he gets some help. He gets the help that he needed to take some of that pressure up top, to have another guy to associate with that can possibly amplify what he did last season. So I think that there is a lot of belief on my end to think that he's going to have, if not the same type of season, a better season in 2025. And those are DP numbers. I mean, look at the numbers he had last season. Those are DP time numbers. I know some DPs that have come to this league and been atrocious. Copetti, one of them, right? I mean, Rigoni. I mean, I could go all day just naming certain DPs that just have not played out. Jordan Morris, you're giving him FDP, yes, at 30, yes, with some injury concerns because he has 2 surgeries on his knees, but he has proven he has earned it, and that's all right with me. I mean, again, it's okay with me because of how we played out. Is that ideal for you to use that money there? That's not here nor there because, again, if there's no transfer budget to go and get better players, you got to kind of play with what you have. Same reason why Albert was brought back. And again, we don't need to go too much into it because me and you have had the discussion already because we knew what was happening, right? I reported that early. I reported the JP situation, or I reported the Albert early, and we were able to talk about that. Albert needed to be back because you didn't want to go out there and have to spend on a transfer fee, on a new salary, have to figure out if the guy was going to adapt. So you keep Albert, and now you give him a multi-year contract at a DP level per Craig Weibel yesterday. You go out there and get JP, where Craig said it was one of the most important moves for me this season. And people downplay that need or that move. But look, if JP at his age can go back to being close to that MVP finalist in MLS that he was at one point, with his grit, his experience, his leadership, I think that's a big piece. And again, we talked about this last week when people were surprised yesterday. Craig talked about moving Josh Atencio to center back and playing him there and experimenting with him there and moving around those pieces. And that makes JP's move even more important. So I think that there is a lot of coherency on the way that the roster is being built. Is it amazing? Is it, like the lights of Hollywood? And yeah, oh my God, this is an amazing roster. No, but it doesn't have to be, because it's sustainable, because it's proven. And as I've been saying, the floor has risen. And so the bare minimum, the very worst game that Seattle would have in 2025, in my opinion, will be better than the worst game that they've had in 2024. And that alone is a good thing for any club.
Let me ask you an FC Dallas question for a second. But it's more philosophical than it is about roster makeup and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So FCD develops all of these players. They develop, a Ricardo Pepi. Then they sell him on. Then mercifully they finally do invest, and they bring in Alan Velasco, and it looks like Velasco might be on his way out the door. Same now with a Jesus Ferreira. You build, you bring a player like a Jesus Ferreira through the academy. Then you get to a point to where you move him on. When it comes to FC Dallas, it seems like players hit a development ceiling. It's like they hit a ceiling, and then they're moved on, and then they get better and better and better. I mean, Ricardo Pepi, like I said, you get Pepi to a point, plays at Dallas, you move him overseas, and you see what's going on with Ricardo Pepi. Jesus Ferreira, it seems like you're getting to a ceiling with Ferreira. You move him on, and I know the expectation in Seattle is that he goes off and he hits a spaceship and he goes off into the stratosphere. What is it about FC Dallas? And like I said, I mean, this could be just the whole development aspect of it, and then sitting there and seeing, okay, we probably need to move on from this guy because we can't afford him anymore. But what is it about FC Dallas where it's like these players hit a point, and then they feel like they have to move them on, and then they get better after they move them on? I mean, is there something there to that?
I think you're absolutely onto something, and I don't know if it is a misidentity or misability to understand what the club is about. There was a point where Dallas, their job was to get their best young players were going to go to Europe, and Chris Richards and Tessman and all of these guys that came up through Dallas. If they were good, they were going to move on to Europe, and that's okay. That's one way. That's one form that you're going to get your club at a certain level, and you have to be able to occupy those places, those spots with other players to keep your club successful and competitive with MLS.
Yeah.
But there was a point where either in between the reality of we don't really have enough talent, we got to go and buy the Velascos, we got to go and buy the I forget the name of the striker that they bought from Liga MX that didn't work out here.
Yeah.
They started making all these moves that just weren't working for them, and then there became some desperation where they stopped caring about the product that they had developed that was working for the team. And I'll give you two. Paxton Pamico, he's a guy that we thought that he was going to be this amazing player and never flourished into that. And Ferreira, a guy that had all the potential, that was supposed to go to Europe, that was supposed to be amazing, and he started to downgrade and started to fall back from that initial overall potential. And there were 2 years where between a poor performance as a team, as a collective, and some injuries, you kind of lost that. So I think that there is some identity issues from Dallas, and that's why today you have this fire sale where Jaramendi's gone, and Areola probably gone, and Ferreira's gone, and now Velasco's going to be gone. So now you're kind of just tearing it all apart to rebuild it, because it's been falling off for the past 3 or 4 seasons. I go back to Lucci. That is something that I think that Dallas messed up on. He was a guy that could have easily helped you not allow all these foundations to fall apart, and you didn't take care of that. And that's why you're in a position now where you're, again, breaking it all up, putting the bulldozer through it, and trying to figure out who you are. Because in my opinion, Dallas has a strong problem with identifying what the club idea and identity is. Philosophy wise, to me, they're confused, and that has reflected in poor MLS play, in lack of players finalizing their end product, and even their young talent stopped leaving to this potentially important teams in Europe.
Yeah, because I was just something that popped into my head, and I was like, hey, wait a minute here. You got players that are hitting a ceiling, and the fact that you brought in Richards and Tessman and Pomacall as a part of the discussion too, I think that it goes to a deeper issue, deeper than I had initially thought. But it was just recently I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, you have these 2 big names and all of this promise that's attached to them. You get them to a point, then you move them on, and then they go through the stratosphere, specifically Pepe, obviously, with what he's doing overseas. And it was just something that stuck in my head, and I felt like I had to ask about it to see if I was barking up the right tree or not.
No, there's a problem in Dallas. And the player I was thinking about was Franco Jara. They brought in from Liga MX.
Yeah.
He was a guy that was proven, was a bust here. You can go back to Heather O'Brien, El Soldado, where, he was in Dallas. He did okay, and in Austin, he's a guy that's been an important player. So there is an issue internally with Dallas, and I think it has to do with an identity crisis and an infrastructure that has either fallen apart or has proven to have been built incorrectly. And that's why, in my opinion, you have a rebuild in Dallas at this point in time.
Okay, Atlanta United yesterday announced that they were bringing in Keimon Togashi, who played Japanese League, League One, a longtime veteran there, grew up in New York City, born in New York City, raised in Japan, played in Japan, and is being brought in on a free to be depth at the striker position for Atlanta United. So Chris Henderson, Garth Lagerwey, they bring in Togashi-san to be a part of the roster in 25. And it is something where Garth Lagerwey and Chris Henderson go into the Japanese market to bring in a player to help out depth because of the schedules that we anticipate for Major League Soccer teams in 2025 and beyond. When it comes to going into the Japanese marketplace, they mentioned that it was something that they did in Seattle. They kept an eye on the Far Eastern market and the Far Eastern clubs and things like that. For those that might not understand what Chris Henderson and Garth Lagerwey were looking at in the Japanese marketplace, can you explain they're looking at the Far East as a marketplace to bring players in, and what you were able to witness with that?
Absolutely. In this conversation that I've had both with Gard and Chris, and it's interesting how, as a league, MLS knows where the league is saturating a certain market. South America right now is being saturated, right? That does two things. It creates a lot of teams fighting over the same type of players. It creates an inflation in prices, which ultimately makes you overpay for certain players. So when you're talking about a 31-year-old attacker, right, in Tagashi, um, maybe a 31-year-old player with that same profile, those same similar statistics, was going to cost you a little more because you're in a saturated market in Ecuador, Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, right? Because that's where all the MLS teams. So the way that Chris Henderson and Garth do is that they'll flip it. They'll go away from where everybody's at, and they're going to go and find those same profile type players in a market that no one would expect. That can create a little bit of doubtfulness from people. And I was one of them when they were here, when I criticized when they brought Kim Ki-hee, and he on a free, completely on a free. And I was like, wow, what are they doing? This guy was cut from that team. I don't understand the move. I don't get it. And then all of a sudden, Kim Ki-hee comes in, and he's a fantastic player. And he has the same profile that maybe I was looking at center backs in South America. This player had, and he was unbelievable. He helped be this team successful when he was here. He was a constant contributor. Gustav Svensson, similar, older player from Scandinavia, and a player that maybe is not overly regarded, or a league that wasn't overly regarded, and people weren't really looking at. He comes in, he becomes a leader. He's a guy that helps this team get a lot of wings, get successful, get that those titles that Seattle fights for. So that's what Chris and Garth do, is completely get away from where all the MLS teams are looking at and find those diamonds in the rough, whether it's two things: bringing in a player that's going to be a role player, and a player that's going to be part of my system, that's going to work out, that, again, maybe they're not going to be in MLS All-Star 11, but they're going to be a star for my team, and they're going to be part of what our identity and in our game model is going to be. And that's why I think you bring in a guy like Tagashi at that age on a free, is because there's other moves that are going to be brewing, right? So if I'm already thinking I'm going to be spending a lot of money on two players, because I think that's what's going to happen in Atlanta, then I need to make sure that I get all those co-stellar players that are going to be either my depth, or they're going to be helping me bring in to help these top players. Because when it comes to MLS, especially in 2025, depth is going to be important. So to me, looking at this type of signing, it has Garth and Chris written all over it. It makes a whole lot of sense. And he's likely going to be a player that's going to end up turning your head once he gets on the field. Because if Chris is bringing him on, and if Garth is bringing him on, there's something to this player. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I know him. No idea. I haven't followed him. I've looked at some of his highlights. That's about it. But I know that they have deeply looked at this guy. This is not just some random dude that popped up on their radar, or that they looked at while playing FIFA. This is a guy that they've been scouting for a long time, decided that was worth the risk, and perhaps has a chip on his shoulder the same way many players do, and they're going to exploit that to make a successful roster in Atlanta.
Because, random dude, we all know that random dude is going to come in and make an absolute impact for every roster in Major League Soccer. We know this for an absolute fact. Random dude. That's who you're chasing after. What's going on with Posto Sports and the Soccer Bar, my friend?
Yes. Two things there. Posto Sport, we're going to have tomorrow our first real Let It Out Friday. We had some technical issues last week. We're going to be able to get on it tomorrow. When it comes to Soccer Bar, we are in the mix of seeing where the project goes. We just found out that one of our producers is getting a opportunity abroad, so he will be leaving the States, and therefore we are trying to figure out if Soccer Bar will continue. If not, I will definitely be looking into embarking another project on my own, and trying to figure out if I can get a team together, because I do like having that Spanish focused show during the weekday that just focuses on all things MLS. So we're right now on a standby there with Soccer Bar. But again, whether it's one way or another, I will get a show on for Spanish speakers. So please stay tuned. Do not leave. Do help me out by joining Pulso Sports. We're going to have a lot of interesting things this season that we're going to be moving around. We are going to get a little bit more of a weekly show for the Northwest. I want to focus a lot on Timbers, Whitecaps, and Sounders. So I'm going to try to get a team together to put a show there for that. But we're in the mix of figuring out 2025 so far. Stay tuned, though. I will not let you down if you go ahead and subscribe to the Pulso Sport channel. Of course, we always have the rerun of Thursdays with Niko, which I appreciate so much. SDH allowing us to do. It's a big thing for us. We've gotten a lot of good feedback from your show, so we really appreciate that. So stay tuned, help us out, and thanks, John, as always.
As always, my friend, it's great to catch up with you, whether it's on your first, your second, or your third cup of coffee. No matter what the mug says, it's always great to see you, my friend. We will catch up with you again next week. Be safe, stay warm, stay dry, and as always, much love from the east to the Pacific Northwest. We'll catch up with you next week, because we did get into the Vancouver ownership situation a little bit this morning, because I'm on some Canadian programming occasionally as a pundit, and people are freaking out about the Whitecaps and their future.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, I think we can touch on that next week if you want.
You got it, brother. We will do that. Be safe, get some breakfast, and love you very much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
All right, there it goes. And it's always great to catch up with Niko and find out what's going on with Niko Moreno and our friend at Pulso Sports. And always you can catch on Niko's social media. What I try to do when I remember to do it in a timely manner is I take our segment and I flip it and give it to Niko. And so you get to watch our discussion about what's going on in the Pacific Northwest. We've always thought it was important to address what's going on in the Western Conference just as much as it is in the Eastern Conference. And so when we can bring in folks like Niko on a weekly basis to do the deep dives into the Western Conference and find out what's going on in Seattle, because they're a perennial power, and understand what's going on with basically Sounders East now, with Chris Henderson here, with Garth here, with Tenny here working in strength and conditioning. You get the background, and so that way when you get the background and you can apply it to what's going on here in Atlanta, we've always thought that was vital as a part of the learning process and the understanding about what's going on. And when I got to ask, I wanted to ask this morning specifically about the Far Eastern market involved in the deal involving Togashi coming from the Japanese league, the J1 league, and coming over here to get an understanding about trying to go into those. And we saw this with the distressed assets. So if you look at, say, distressed assets like we've seen in the past, looking at Ligue 2 and looking at the French marketplace and things like that, you're always trying to find those other locations. You're zigging while everybody else is zagging. And so when you can go into the Far Eastern marketplace and get somebody like a Cayman Togashi, I wanted to ask Niko about the background there, about zigging while everybody else is zagging, and finding folks that you think will fit. And it had slipped my mind about Kim Ki-hee. Legitimately, it had slipped my mind about Kim Ki-hee and Gustav Svensson. Going to the Scandinavian market, going to the Far East and finding a Kim Ki-hee, which really helped out Seattle. And so when Niko got to break that information down, it's like, oh, yeah, I remember that now. And so to be able to have those kinds of conversations with him, I've always thought that it was important, A, to understand what's going on in the Western Conference during the regular season, and B, to understand a little further the process for Garth and Chris in the front office. And so to be able to have Niko and to be able to pick his brain about these kinds of things, I've always thought it was really, really cool that he puts up with and specifically mine, silly questions when it comes to what's going on. A couple of other pieces of news. Minnesota United has signed Will Trapp to a new contract, new one-year deal. Tormenta has signed forward Niall Reed-Steven. The Barbados international is now joining Tormenta. Olaf Melberg is going to have his introductory press conference with Lutz Pfannenstiel. That's coming up this week. Also, Catherine Nesbitt and Guido Gonzalez Jr. have been voted 2024 U.S. Soccer Referees of the Year, so congratulations to them. Also, let's see, Crew have signed Nicholas Hagen to a multi-year contract extension. Also on the board, it is Nashville SC waiving midfielder Randall Leal and keeper Elliot Panico. We mentioned Houston Dynamo signing Pat Onstad and Asher Mendelson to contract extensions. Pat Onstad, a multi-year contract extension at GM, taking on the new title of President of Soccer, and Technical Director Asher Mendelson. Those were announced as well. Onstad joined in 2022 as the GM, and so you end up getting quotes from Ted Siegel about both of them as we go. So also it is MLS Communications just announced at the top of the hour. MLS Next is announcing a new competition tier that will increase the number of clubs in MLS Next, deepening the overall pool of players. So kicking off in September of 25, MLS Next program expansion, providing more opportunities and pathways for aspiring players. Clubs can apply now for participation in the fall. It is starting in 25, clubs in the program competing in regular season games, regional tournaments, and various MLS Next national events, as well as coaching, development, and education programs, talent ID, and high-performance opportunities. So expanded tier of MLS Next managed by leading league operators across the youth landscape. This is from the league. With a strong commitment to player development, operators will follow mandated program guidelines and technical standards set by MLS Next to ensure a high-quality product. Operators will include the National Academy League, Elite Academy League, Sporting Development League, Cobalt Sports, and the Cal North Soccer Association. And so that's news out of MLS Soccer and MLS Next. Today is also the National Media Day for Major League Soccer, and so you've got folks doing the car wash. Chucky Lozano apparently is doing the car wash right now. Greg Berhalter had done the car wash earlier in the day. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that is out there. Yeah, Danny Olmo and Pau Victor granted temporary registrations for Barcelona. We probably need to get into that news before we get out of here. So here's everything else going on around the planet. It is Olmo and Victor given temporary permission. Second half of the 24-25 season. This is from our friends at The Athletic. Spanish government has suspended the agreement. Suspended the agreement reached on January 4 by the RFEF, meaning the Spanish FA, and La Liga, which had canceled the two players' sporting licenses after Barca missed the December 31st deadline to extend them. Barcelona's attempts to re-register Olmo and Victor rejected by the RFEF and La Liga, leading the club to submit a 52-page document. I initially thought it was 42, and more than 60 accompanying documents to the Consejo Superior de Deportes, the highest sports council within the Spanish government. Decision from the CSD is an acknowledgement Barca have grounds to dispute the decision taken by the Liga and the RFEF and have been made because the clubs are at risk of losing two important assets before a ruling is made. Mateus Cunha closing in on a new Wolves contract. Was in the news yesterday for offering to buy an Ipswich Town staff member a new pair of glasses. Involvement saw him land a two-match ban and an £80,000 fine. Ornstein has more on the relegation clause in his deal sheet. So Lamine Yamal is keen for a new Barcelona contract as well. So keeping an eye on all of that. Obviously, Ornstein's keeping an eye on Manchester United, and he's keeping an eye on Randall Colomawani. Manchester City exploring a deal for Abdulkadir Husanov. Other clubs hold an interest, Newcastle and Spurs, aware of his talent and availability. Lens looking to do a deal in excess of 40 million euro, which means that Spurs are not expected to be engaged in the battle for the defender right now. Newcastle have tracked and identified. Jorge Mendes has a mandate to deliver Husanov's sale in this window, working to secure Lens the best possible fee. Niko Williams being chased by Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool. Arteta would like to sign Williams in this window. Finances involved make it highly unlikely. Williams is not agitating to leave Athletic Bilbao. Release clause stands at just shy of 60 million euro, fluctuating with inflation, need to be paid in full. Saudi League keeping an eye on Vinicius Jr. and the 1 billion euro release clause under contract through 27. Madrid have shown a willingness to start the process of renewing his deal. Agents, however, thinking about other things. Joshua Zirkzee intends to stay at Manchester United in this window. Difficult start to life in the Prem. Wolves on the cusp of signing Emmanuel Agbadou from Reims. Central defender had a medical with Wolves on Monday, needs a work permit before the switch can be confirmed. Wolves will pay 18 million euro with a possible 2 million in add-ons, 4.5-year deal with an option for next to 12 months. And once again, we mentioned about Husanov. Also on the board, once again, the what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, plus all of the quick gossip, rumor, and innuendo that we had looking at the papers. We mentioned Husanov and Lamine Yamal. Dortmund have an interest in signing Chelsea's Carney Chukwuemeka on a loan deal, option to buy in the January window. Joe Hugel has returned to Manchester United after spending the first half of the season on loan at Wigan, expected to go back out on loan imminently with EFL clubs being interested. David Wagner has walked away from talks to replace Wayne Rooney at Plymouth Argyle. Garnacho open to leaving Manchester United after growing frustrated with his reduced role during the early days of the Amorim tenure. Also on the board, Rangers weighing up a move for Richard King, looking for a central defender. Philippe Clement has told Rangers board to think twice before even considering selling Hamza Igamane this month. And Cagliari are weighing up a fresh move for Ranger striker Cyril Dessers. So keep an eye on those moves as we go. So today, if Leicester's relegated again, would Vardy walk? Commando asked. I don't know. I think that Jamie Vardy right now at this point of his career is probably happy. So I think he might stick it out and try to sit there and get him promoted one more time. Because, I mean, when you're in your mid-30s and you're not playing every day just because of schedule and wear and tear, I think Jamie's happy where he is. I think that Jamie Vardy would be happy to stay and try to get them promoted one more time if they do, in fact, get relegated. Morning Sharif and morning Fourcart, by the way. Okay, so here's what we're staring at. Amad Diallo agreed to new terms on a contract with Manchester United. Kobe Mainu and Alejandro Garnacho both still have a future despite concerns about breaching PSR. Manchester United need to make a sale to finance a 60 million euro move for Nuno Mendes from PSG. Milan interested once again in Rashford, but once again, they're only interested in wanting to pay half the wages. Manchester United are aware the representatives of Rashford are in talks with AC Milan. Brian Mbeumo at Brentford is on Arsenal's shortlist for a summer transfer. German clubs, Leverkusen, Leipzig, Mainz, Dortmund, Stuttgart are all chasing after Manchester City midfielder James McAtee. Manchester City remain interested in Omar Marmoush. Once again, it's 50 million pound rating, but they're going to have to probably prime away from Eintracht Frankfurt. We talked about where Eintracht Frankfurt is in the standings currently, and would they want, meaning Eintracht Frankfurt, to sell Marmoush, considering how tight the race for European football is right now in the Bundesliga? That's the big question. City also considering a move for Nottingham Forest fullback Ola Aina. That's from our friends at Gimme Sports. Ben Jacobs, traditionally very, very busy. Cristiano Ronaldo wants to reunite with Casemiro and has urged Al Nassr to move for the midfielder. We mentioned Husanov and 30 million pounds and Lens. Anthony has rejected the chance to join Olympiacos, still wants to leave Manchester United. West Ham are interested in Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, could push for a loan deal with Chelsea. Technical director Tim Stuyton could also leave West Ham following the sacking of Julian Lopetegui, according to our friends at The Guardian. Inter Milan preparing a bid for Alexander Zinchenko at Arsenal. 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Villa tracking Dortmund winger Jamie Jermaine Bino Gittins. Palace have made contact with Millwall about the possibility of signing 19-year-old English winger Romain Esse. And Martin Dubravka still has an agreement in principle with Al-Shabaab, waiting on a final decision from Newcastle. Swansea have made a fresh bid for Wycombe Wanderers 22-year-old Wales defender Joe Lowe after their initial approach was rejected. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, and where to go to watch all of the soccer on the TVs today. Once again, remember, you've got Spanish Supercopa. That is at 2 o'clock on the Deuce, Real Madrid and Mallorca, ESPN Deportes simulcasting. The league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote is on FS2. That's at noon. ESPN Deportes, once again, is simulcasting both of those matches, the Saudi Pro and the Supercopa. Belgian Cup is at 2:30 on the Plus. Beer Shot, feel like my buddy Pharrell. Beer Shot and Anderlecht at 2:30. FA Cup has a triple header available on the Plus. Sheffield United, Cardiff at 2, Everton, Peterborough 2:40, Fulham, Watford at 2:40, Real Madrid once again, and Mallorca is on ESPN Plus, and Dundee and Rangers 3 o'clock on Paramount Plus. So that is what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Tomorrow, once again, try to be as normal as humanly possible. See if our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring will join us at 9:30. Hour number 2, we're catching up with the new head coach at Carolina Core and finding up what's going on there with one of the independent ownership groups in MLS Next Pro as they get ready for the season. And this is also something that we're going to be doing as we get ready. When we get into training camps, we're going to try to catch up with as many coaches as we can, catch up with as many teams as we can here in the footprint, all the USL League One, all the USL Championships, see if we can catch up with some USL Super League folks, and see what's going on with Atlanta United and our friends all around Major League Soccer as well. So as training camp gets started, so are we. Hitting the ground as hard as we can, getting you up and running for the 2025 seasons on all of the levels. So once again, thanks to our buddy Nino Torres. Thanks to our buddy Niko Moreno. As always, thanks to you for dropping by and putting up with all of our shenanigans on a daily basis. Back at it, 9:05 and a little less than 22. So since it is the end of the show, play it safe, everybody. Mucho platial. That means I get to do this. We'll do this all again tomorrow, 9:05 p.m.